What's good, y'all? What's good? Okay, so much, so much to connect and build. All right, I'm gonna take the headphones off and reconnect with y'all. Let's go. Y'all got to get y'all pencils and paper. Um, get y'all note taking materials ready. Okay, what's up, Bobby? My daughter is on. All right, my 12-year-old. You hear that grind? We're gonna discuss that grind. We focus on 6 terms. I have a seventh that one of my comrades said we should add on there. So that's misogynoir. That's been added. All right. And then we have two more particular terms that I really want to flush out and get. All right. Can we get those up on here? Uh, those next terms as well. We just have to bring up the Black VegFest on there. Make that happen, please. Yo, we're gonna test folks' political education. Definitely have some questions specific to exactly how we rolling. Okay, so we having them specific to how we rolling. Have those questions, and let's try to stay on the same path right now, where it makes sense. Okay. Um, I can't wait to just really discuss this and get through it. All right. So altogether is 9 different terms we're gonna go over, but the first 6 are critical right now. So white supremacy. Let's talk about that first, right? Okay. So first, the definition that everyone has access to is the belief that white people are superior to those other races, in particular, the black race, right? And therefore should dominate the society. So there are folks that think like that, right? That's out there. And we know that they exist, and they come in various different forms. Also, we need to understand that when white supremacy happens, it's not always very clear, that they're white supremacists. Okay, so we understand that sometimes that people come in stealth wise or smile, but in reality, they're racist. So we know that that is something that folks do, right? And so for many years, black community has been saying that, cops, do that. People who have prosecutory powers, do that. Folks who make a decision on who do they give loans to, our elected officials. Okay, so be very clear about that. So but also white folks being just bothered with criticism in an act is an act of white supremacy. Okay, so understand that just being defensive about this condition is just has it in a evolving situation where we have to explain it every single time. Attempting to silence black voices in any way, shape, or form is white supremacist actions. Okay, so that's white supremacist action. And why? Because folks got killed, and it's only been like 1 week, and folks are already talking about um, issues that have nothing to do with um, a white officer again killing an unarmed black person, right? So we're going from the situation of constantly talking, about white supremacy to actionable steps, which includes protesting online, protesting offline, in various different forms. Um, and so we need to be clear about that. But one of the things that's also important to checking white supremacy is permitting white folks to go ahead and check other white folks, right? So when you permit other white folks to run unchecked because you have white friends, is one of the biggest ways we support white supremacy. So when white folks don't check other white folks, that's white supremacist action. When we have an issue, with folks like myself being unapologetically black, addressing white supremacy, okay, we are assisting white supremacy. Do we understand that? That if you start coming out here and start talking about the riot, what are you doing? Understanding your particular interests where you are right now is critical, right? For instance, like I know some of y'all want to do businesses, black business, there's a lot of black businesses that are up and running and want to be patronized. Understand, if that is part of the reasoning for you intervening on black voices talking about social and political power, you are upholding white supremacy. Even if you pretend, and you can be performative as well, black man, black woman, okay? When you basically say, listen, I hear them talking about, social and political, but I want to talk about the economics. Let's talk about the economics. No, you really want to talk about your specific economics. You don't want to talk about collective economics, right? You come in with a Booker T. Washington whole set of ideals, and we're going to unravel that as we go forward, okay, in addressing these other things. But be careful that every single day you are supporting white supremacist action. If you let your contracts get in the way, you support white supremacist action every single time. Yes, KKK. Every single time you try to silence my voice, any black person that is unapologetically black, like we don't walk through being hit with so much anxiety that we feel like we can't speak, right? And that comes from years of organizing. I want folks to go to you go to my Patreon and you can see the list the 20 years that I've been working and doing this particular work. So that's why I'm speaking. I want to be clear, who you're speaking with and who's communicating, right? So that needs to be clear, and we'll get through that as we do this. So that's white supremacy. We want to go into propaganda, and I want to do these a little quicker than the next one. So I'm watching time as well, and being helped in watching time. Propaganda now. Okay, so propaganda is information, especially of a biased or misleading point of view, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. Be very clear what propaganda is. It's coming from your point of view, right? Your interest, and understand how the media is running certain narratives. So when they're talking about this situation, doesn't mean they're necessarily supportive. Do not look at white power speaking and automatically say to yourself, "Oh, okay, well, looks like they're supportive." You know what I mean? Like y'all get little things. We get very little assistance from white folks, and we already ready to pat them on the back. We can't fucking wait to be over with this shit. We're feeling anxiety so much that we literally can't wait to fucking like stop talking about race. You know what I'm saying? Like I know a lot of y'all don't want to talk about it, but here you end up silencing that race. So when we talk about, so examples of that is the sharing of anything destructive to black people is propaganda. Okay, and it supports white supremacist action. You understand? Including our character using stereotypes is using white supremacist propaganda. Talking about our particular character in negative ways is a screenshot. It's just you took a screenshot of somebody doing something that you felt was out of line. But you thought it was out of line only based off the history that you've been receiving from white power. You've been living in it the entire time. It's like when when you're trying to go vegan. Hell yeah, it's difficult for you. For 20 years or however long, you have been eating meat. I get it. It's going to be tough for you to transition. So you've been under white power. You've been seeing white folks in images on TV your entire life, magazine, newspaper. You know what I'm saying? So you don't want to get to none of that shit. The only thing you want to really get to is check anime and be like, cool, Jordans, or and just function within a society. I totally get it. So your anxiety allows you to fall into a lot of this propaganda that shapes your mindset. Everybody is polluted with this. I don't want to hear anyone say that they're not being polluted. If you are, if you're not, let me tell you what you would be doing. Hey, in China, when the police, and they all Chinese, right? We talking about China, and we've seen some of the history. You go anywhere around the world, but in China, there was some years ago. As soon as a cop, you know, was practicing misconduct or police brutality, hitting folks, the folks came up and scooped the police up and get them up out of there. Hell yeah, they whipped their ass, because they were like, why are you beating up our people for? Right? So these are things that black folks, who are cops and put this on and say that, hey, I'm going to be the change. You cannot be the change. You can't. You follow laws. You follow rules. If you don't follow what your commander is telling you, you know what I'm saying? You fired. And matter of fact, and you're more concerned about that than you are about black people. So please do not think that you put on a police uniform, okay, and think you got to change the shit within. As soon as folks start talking that, you know what I mean? I'm like, you miss years of sessions of political education. Now, I understand that politics is tough. So part of my background is also, in managing political campaigns, even successful ones, right? So I know a lot of folks do political campaigns and shit like that, and sometimes they don't get paid. I got paid as a strategist, or and then ones that I felt like weren't going to be supportive, or I felt like they were, I left those. You understand? Because you got to be careful with the information in terms of what you're doing. But anyway, I don't want to get off track. I'm gonna give you another example, and it's the most powerful one and very important in terms of our propaganda. So when we call uprisings, rebellions, anything but a revolt, we are sharing propaganda that makes white supremacists comfortable. Again, you make them comfortable. When you try to silence folks with black voices who are going to talk about the conditions and the issues, like, are we supposed to just not talk about it? Were we supposed to talk about it for 5 days, 7 days, and we were going to be cool? You know what I mean? I understand, family. Like a lot of us, are dealing with a lot of anxiety. We really don't want to approach white folks a lot of times and shit. But we take the time to go and snatch them up every once and again. It ain't no different with the 7 points of allyship. To be clear with that, that's just wrangling them in, right? That's just putting them to task. Saying go ahead and do some fucking work. If I told you that, you don't even know where to start. You don't know where to start. I don't want white folks trying to fill out, me figure out what we do. I'm just going to assume you ain't doing no work. Until credible and reputable black organizations who are about self-determination for black people and about dismantling imperialist, capitalist, patriarchal systems, until folks have that kind of reasoning, listen, I'm not trying to listen to what you're saying, because a lot of what you're saying is really just coming from a point of view that is opportunist. You don't want to, we don't want to approach, white folks. But when we do approach, we ask for loans, right? We ask for loans. We're approaching white folks. Okay, because I know some folks are coming, they're like, why are you doing 7 points of all that shit? Man, you just went to the bank and asked for them for a loan for a house or for some property. You know what I'm saying? Now, we want to hold them to task for redlining and everything else before you even go in there. Can we do that? So we have to make that happen. So, but anytime we're talking about anything other than anything other than protests, rebellions, revolts, right now in this particular time, we are supporting white supremacist action. You know what I'm saying? Because y'all ain't never on a group. All right, so we're gonna move forward. Thank you. You know what I mean? Uprising, rebellion, an act of resistance or rebellion, um, a revolt. You know what I'm saying? So anytime we resist being killed, we're resisting being killed right now. We're basically saying we don't want to be killed. So tell you what, we get to make the determinations of how we actually get up out of this hell, right? And so we make the determination. So whatever the unapologetically Black organizations, who are discussing self-determination, who are about self-determination, who have shown over the years, we get to discuss that. We get to figure that where it makes sense. If you've been for the whole time, just say, for instance, you've been making tables, you know what I mean? Or you've been building structures, you've been doing anything, you're not all of a sudden going to be talking about, what we need to do for political action. Are we clear on that? No matter how many white folks no matter how much of a celebrity you believe you are, and we need to listen to you. If you ain't been doing the work, why are we listening to folks who ain't been doing the work? Tell you what you do. You give money. You give funds. You fund this revolution. You do with the work that Aretha Franklin did, that Harry Belafonte did, Paul Robeson. You do that work that James Baldwin, did, Nina Simone. You do that particular work, you know what I'm saying, what celebrities can do. You understand? And tell your celebrities to do that, and follow folks who are unapologetically Black and giving, the proper political education and giving you, tangibles. Because we talking about real campaigns and stuff, but we first got to get, to like how we even characterize and everything. Because it's just real talk. It's weird talking. So uprisings is no different than this particular uprising is no different than others that we have seen throughout Europe in the last freaking decade. We're talking about, you know what I'm saying? Like Europe has been bugging the fuck out. They've been banging this shit. And we've been like, hell fucking yeah. You know what I'm saying? They've been in France. They've been in Greece. You know what I'm saying? They've been in the Ukraine. They've been doing all this banging up and shit. Like, you know what I mean? Now folks coming over here. Now folks over here, after just 7 days, folks got killed. We talking about, we need to calm down. Hold on. Let's let cooler heads prevail. Like, how long y'all want to do that? Y'all got to tell me how long that needs to happen, so we make sense of it. Okay. And they were just talking about financial controls. When we talk about, 10 years ago, the last 15 years that Europe has really been doing this, right? So why was America in love with the property damage that was happening in Hong Kong? The property damage and the destabilization of Libya, right? And the killing of Gaddafi, you know what I'm saying? A head of state. Why was that? So we have to look at that and see that is anytime you bring up anything other than uprising, call this other than uprising, it is supportive of white supremacist action. Talking about moderates, talking about liberals, man, you tell me who's different. You know what I mean? You tell me. I can't see the difference. So let's be clear about that. All right. So I want to define what veganism is. So a lot of folks have been like, okay, and it's understandable. Like, okay, where does veganism, fall in? I'm gonna tell you. In a steady progression of trying to understand, like, where every single person, like, where do we come out in the world? How do we understand? How do we explain the world and how we relate and how we live in the world, and the relationship to other folks' harm or relationship to the support of, other people, but also animals. how is our relationship and how are we responsible for that particular relationship, right? So veganism is not eating meat or any animal products. So no animal products, right? Okay, because it's either murder or exploitation or both, right? So and we say this in terms of understanding that we have the capacity to address issues other than our own, and we're going to discuss that, and what's that called, right? So justice is far-reaching. First off, on veganism, when we come down to the lowest levels of oppression, we find the animals. It's radical thinking to believe animals must be free, since no one should have the right to exploit and murder anyone, right? And we kind of understand that, quite a bit. However, I want to be real clear with a lot of folks who take, veganism and have this weird activism. Do never suggest that just because a black person understands, where they are in terms of this second class citizenship we constantly come back to experiencing, does not mean that we need to be hearing, from white vegans telling us, hey, surely you can understand, because you're oppressed. That's bullshit. Because how do you understand veganism, right? Because you don't even understand veganism. You don't even practice it. You don't. You know what I'm saying? You've been vegan for 0 years. You've been literally vegan for 0 years, because you allowed within your own species folks to be killed down, even when they were 100% for animal welfare. Okay, so we're gonna miss you, and not hear that, and only organize you to work within your community. That's what needs to happen. When that particular part of oppression omits support for the ground zero oppressed peoples within our own species, it's a deflection. Often white supremacy, but always white privilege. It is always some white privilege to be like, well, I'm going to deal with these animals over here. And that's because they're not speaking to you. They don't talk back. They don't give you clear, identified points, reasonings. They don't have a conversation. There's no justification that they can articulate, to you. It's you pretending that you totally understand the animals, and that is such a thing that we could do. So, and I want to be very clear that we're going to connect this to intersectionality. That folks can be black, can be vegan, folks can be queer, folks can be non-binary as well, can be disabled, so on and so forth. And so when we talk about vegan intersectionality or intersectionality by itself, it's the interconnectedness between groups. And this is definitions you can find. Some of these, I'm putting together just based on knowing them. But you should also check anything that anyone is actually, teaching. Hopefully you've learned that. Some folks rely on YouTube way too much and do not double check, anything. And folks don't say that. I don't know why. But anyway, the interconnectedness between groups sharing, overlapping, and interdependent discrimination, disadvantage, or oppression, right? And so with that, you have, I'm going to give you some examples, because I think that this is a clearer way for vegans to organize any vegan, but it's also a clear way for anybody in the oppressed community to organize other oppressed folks, right? So examples of is workers supporting. So I'm going to explain some things so we could be a little bit clearer. Workers supporting other workers is common and necessary, but it isn't necessarily intersectionality. Okay, if we're talking about them having the same demographics, right? So hospital workers who receive more respect in society supporting the work of Black sex workers may address poor conditions for sex workers and raise their respect. That is worker solidarity, but also an example of intersectionality. And this may take some time to kind of understand it. But another piece to explain vegan intersectionality is being a black vegan, where you may understand both the discrimination of being black, but also recognize the unjust treatment of animals. Black cis het, so that's cisgendered heterosexual, we'll say men centering black trans and what is happening to their community is an example of intersectionality, but also black unity. So when you understand as a black man, right? So I'm cis het, right? I look heterosexual, like a heterosexual man, and I am, and identify with being a heterosexual man, right? And essentially choosing that as a gender and shit. So whatever was given to me, you know what I'm saying, I accepted, and I'm like, okay, I'm this. So that's that particular gender. Now, when I go ahead and support black trans, I raise up black trans, right? I get other black folks, who also are cis het men, black cis het men to support black trans, but also in terms of supporting black women. This is intersectionality. Being vegan at this very same time is vegan intersectionality, where you can understand what is happening with certain conditions, and we are addressing the same fucking patriarchy, addressing the same capitalist imperialist structure at the very same time. That's when we are actually forming and recognizing intersectionality in the truest way. Okay, when we both recognize the same motherfucking foot on our motherfucking necks. Okay, so understand that we understand that the farm factory system, it doesn't just kill cows, right? Millions of cows, billions of chickens. That it also puts workers, migrant workers, immigrants into unsafe conditions. Often. But in terms of what we breathing, that they're handling and carrying out this murder. So we're talking about the mental illness that all that impacts, being underpaid. That whole situation is basically sustaining a very capitalist, exploitative, system. So we're clear, on that it's the same exact structure. So when white folks are talking about, hey, we got to stop these animals, we got so on and so forth. Listen, go to the power structure. Recognize the same power structure that's killing us is also killing the animals. Stop making this shit more complicated than it actually is, and start beginning to, wanting to do that work. And okay. So we want to be clear on that. But I also want to go to the next one. Patriarchy. Are folks following? Okay. And if y'all have any questions, put them up there. I'm going to take a second to read our brother Peace Conscious. What truly matters is where all the folks stepping up stands weeks, months, years, and generations from now. We must maintain this vigilance, of course. Right. And that's why we got to put this particular work, like we got to actually discuss it. That's first. I'm always wanting to go ahead and go and get to the practice, but I'm never one to kind of just forget about the theoretical framing of it. Everybody on the same page, checking, and what makes sense, about this. Okay, so that needs to be entirely important. And only black folks. This is a political education for black folks. I done one for white folks. 7 points of allyship, and so in the 7 points of allyship, see point 2. Please, black space. Go ahead and see point 2. Go to blackvegfest.org. All right. So this is 100% black space. We're gonna focus on that. I'm not answering no questions from folks who are white right now. And folks, I have a feel like there's a problem, with that, then you really are not looking at point 4. You need to go to point 4. You need to go also and start with point 1. Okay, that's the first point you need to. So I want to go ahead on to patriarchy. So patriarchy, a society or system or group in which men dominate women and have the power and authority. Okay, because I hear a lot of folks, a lot of men be upset about hearing feminism, and I'm like, yeah, oftentimes, I'm talking about black men, I'm like, yeah, okay, like yeah, a lot of white women have gotten a lot of shit, a lot of resources, on and with the help of us pushing civil rights, we push civil rights for fucking everybody in the motherfucking country. We need to be making that clear every single time when we step into a motherfucking room. You know what I mean? Like we did that shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? You know how you see grants right now? If you left-handed right now, there's grants for that shit. We did that shit. Y'all don't even know that shit. Every single fucking thing where they changed the system, we did that. Okay? We did that. Be very clear about it. So white folks, y'all can watch, but y'all got to be quiet in here, even if y'all are apologizing. Listen, and there is so fucking much that we've allowed, you know what I'm saying, a lot of white folks to do that now it's like, oh shit, you gotta watch out for their feelings and shit like this and so on and so forth. And doing this, you know what reality is, you know what I'm saying? Like y'all don't want to do that, but y'all literally been waiting on raises, waiting on promotions, waiting on loans, waiting on any kind of support, you know what I'm saying, from white folks, the entire structure, and all of that. And then y'all still keep coming back and we're being like, well, maybe we're being a little harsh. We ain't pull out no weapons. You know what I'm saying? We ain't even doing shit. We ain't even whip cops' ass, really. You know what I'm saying? We ain't do none of that. We really just talking. This is conversation. If motherfuckers is that fragile, and I mean that on any one of the issues that I'm addressing, I'm off of patriarchy. But if white folks is that fragile, and you got them as friends, you know what I'm saying? Well, you know how you choose friends. You know what I'm saying? Good luck with that. I don't do that. So in patriarchy, so let's be clear. Some of the facts. Women are under 25% of the representatives in Congress, right? The representation of women in Congress is 25%. Automatically, brothers, when y'all hear that shit, y'all got to be like, hold on a second. Ain't it 100 of them? Ain't it 435? Like, goddamn. You know what I'm saying? Ain't women like 50 to 50 something percent, of the country, like why are men still rocking this? Like, why are we running this shit? So this is where we need to be at. So when we talk about making space and taking privilege, and first off, black men only have privilege, over we talking about black women and black trans. I want to be clear how we frame that. I want to be very fucking clear, on that. And that's a reality, right? Because damn well there's even less black women in there, right? Than it is black men. There's less queer folks than it is black men. When we talk about the Senate, it's 26%, and we know there's 100 senators, and they're in there for how many years? 6. So understand something. An easy and clear example of how patriarchy doesn't work, right, is just the politics, just the way the government is set up, right? So when we talk about how when folks are talking about when black women are speaking about how patriarchy dominates our system, they talking about from the power structure, right? They're not just automatically talking about your individual self, right? You got to descend to yourself, and push that shit to the side and understand what people are talking about, right? So that's what we're talking about. In any case, so we need to be very clear on that. The government in the world makes no sense because it's essentially men are still running shit, right? It's still talking about a white patriarchy, right? And that patriarchy looks white. But as we understand patriarchy, we understand that also any man can go ahead and push that patriarchy further. You understand? We push that patriarchy further whenever we silence Black women. Whenever we say little crazy shit online and act like it's not the real world. And I heard folks say that, like, well, I sold books on the real world, and online. You know what I'm saying? And you have made friends online. Are they fake? You know what I'm saying? And then end up seeing them, later, on. So let me know. So let me know about that. All right. So it's a reality. So with that, I'm going to go into misogynoir. So when we talk about misogynoir, we're talking about misogyny that is essentially putting Black women as the victim of political, social, and financial oppression, right? So the physical and mental and financial abuse of Black women, that's misogynoir, just to be clear. So Black women have a special fight because they must struggle within their own community where Black men are become, and be real with it, the main culprit. Within our community, we understand this. And some folks don't want to deal with it. And so we deal with it. And so when we create Black family, we talk about Black family anytime, in order to create Black family, you got to support Black women. You got to support Black trans. If you believe that Black family is just you hooking up with a Black woman and having 2 kids, we need to stop having conversations, family. We are not going to be on the same page. That does not give us, that's you and your relationship and your situation. Because folks can have Black family with, with their aunt living there. You know what I'm saying? There's me and my aunt, me and my uncle. I got 2 foster care kids. I got this. These are hypotheticals. There's so many different ways that we talk about this, right? When we talk about patriarchy and dismantling it, we also understand that Black women could be like, I don't want to fucking hear from, this Black man. And I had to wrestle with that. Like, damn, why the sister, you know what I'm saying? Coming in, I'm not the one. Like, I ain't, you know what I mean? Like, listen, you got to understand how, let's handle it in a bunch of different ways, right? So the first way is, if you say you're a man just in a traditional way, well, then man the fuck up then. Hear criticism and be like, well, we're going to man up. I'm ready to, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready for it straight ahead. All right. But we also understanding that we a whole person, you know what I mean? And that we try and communicate to sisters that sometimes we feel sad and sometimes that we feel hurt and shit. We'll fucking communicate that. And communicate that is not just masculinity, you know what I'm saying? There's also femininity that we all fucking have. You know what I'm saying? So I'm saying that as a fighter, you know what I'm saying? And I'm pretty sure that most folks can't whip my ass. You know what I mean? So I say that as a fighter because I can say that, as a fighter. So when we have folks who are in a position to say that where the masculinity is presented very clearly, then we understand and we give opportunity for Black men to be able to say, okay, I see there's more elbow room. There's flexibility for me and my manhood. I can build and I can develop my manhood. I can listen. That manhood is not just specific to me being tough and physical, being aggressive, being able to go ahead and defend, and all these different ways. Like what I think of also manhood is, you teaching children. You listening to folks. You saying yes, I understand. Yes, sis. Okay. You understand it in such a way. You are making food. I see brothers on here that's making food. Make the connection to the nurturing aspect that you have. Don't allow dudes who fucking can't do shit, can't physically do a thing, push masculinity up. Facts are, there's so many folks that are so afraid to use their voice and be coming on here talking about masculinity. Bro, I can't even listen to you. You know what I'm saying? I've been too much into the fight. I done had the guns in my face. You know what I'm saying? Whether we talking cops, we talking the community. So many, there's too much that I've seen, you know what I mean? From Brooklyn to Oakland, to LA, and to Chicago, and to all these different places, into Lagos, Nigeria, and all around the world, to be able to start listening to folks who haven't been doing that particular work critique Black people in the movement or otherwise, whether they say they're feminists, whether they say they are trans. If we coming from that, you putting out white supremacist work. First, you attacking and you doing divide and conquer. And some of y'all will be like, yo, watch the divide and conquer. And then be like, yo, fuck that Black trans and shit. You know what I mean? Like what? You know what I'm saying? So we weird. We talking weird. And so I had to put that out there, right? So, but also, Black women are forced to operate within patriarchy, even engineering some of its current design, right? A lot of sisters are saying that. A lot of sisters know that. They hear it every fucking day, pushing patriarchy. So you come, you know what I mean? Like the same way how I was, talking about white supremacy, right? But, and here's an example, not calling out Joe Biden or supporting Joe Biden just because he may lose is an example of upholding patriarchy. A man has to solve this shit. You know what I mean? He can't just participate and push the issue, push it through and handle it head on, right? Because we can be handling this right now as a country. The first thing we could do is be dismantling patriarchy and misogyny. And Black men can do that right now and dismantling misogyny. So I don't want to spend, too much time, on that. Do folks have? Let me see. Yes. You gotta stop apologizing. Okay. And so that's partly what we about here. We're not apologizing. We're going straight to the work. And we're bringing folks to do some work. So I want to get to the bonuses, right? So I done laid out pretty much every single thing right now. Yes, brother. Okay. Brother Russell Schultz, the third. Peace and respect to your father too. Free them all, brother. Free them all. I want to discuss the last two. Now I'm coining these until y'all tell me you didn't coin that shit. I done heard that shit and somebody explained it. So in 2015, I didn't even know agricultural globalism was something that might actually be a thing, but I wanted to talk about it in my book. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm really like a boring motherfucker. You know what I mean? I just focus on politics. I've been doing this for a long time. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of folks who've been doing this too. One of the brothers here, his father is still locked up right now, political prisoner. So free them all, free them all, and I want to get into, I wanted even to see it came on, Dalil Muntakim, free them all right now. He has coronavirus right now. We talking about, our political prisoners that's locked up who were doing work on our behalf, even while we were asleep, literally, physically, and literally asleep. Okay. And then even now, still asleep, and we need to be pushing that work. So I want to go forward though. Agricultural globalism. Those are the bonus pieces I'm going to give y'all. A global food system. So it's a little bit, it's a little bit wordy, and I want y'all to kind of go through it. But a global food system spearheaded under white supremacists. You can't have anything in this motherfucking country that's not run by white supremacists. Are we clear on that? You know what I'm saying? So when we dismantling shit, we not even dismantling, like, you know what I mean? Folks be like, you tearing up your neighborhood. Whose neighborhood? We couldn't even get anything. We couldn't, you know what I'm saying? We went to the community board, we couldn't even get anything. And cats be like, you tearing up your own neighborhood. Shit, I would have never known. This is, you know what I mean? A lot of folks want to say that. So a global food system spearheaded under white supremacists, imperialists, managed in colonized countries under the cloak of neocolonialism and supranationals. Okay, supranationals are like United Nations food agricultural organization, that come in and they kind of just they affront, like they trying to help folks on the ground, so-called third world nations, but really they there to take land. Really they're there to get you following whatever they talking about, but they want to get your food because they know you got to eat it on a regular basis. So if they control the food, hey, you gain control too. And I understand, and so I break that down though. That's in my book, An Introduction to Veganism and Agricultural Globalism. So definitely see that piece. I intentionally and essentially go through the different continents and including Australia and their relationship to GMO in the world, in the food system. So I use GMO, but I never want to just center and focus on just the GMO. It's the entire just the land grabbing, that they're involved in, that they're working on. They're taking this particular food, they're taking the seeds. Okay, so understand when they GMO something, it's not just two DNAs that they want to get out there and they want to feed people, and the way they're designed, they end up fighting certain disease, and maybe they'll say they'll stave off famine. It's not just that. What it is that the seeds, if you take regular seeds that's out there where nobody's messed with and tampered with, nobody could trademark that. Okay? Nobody owns that particular DNA. But if somebody engineers and creates a whole new seed with a company, by a biotech firm, okay, they now own that particular seed. And so you've heard, for 15, 20 years, that this is happening, right? For a very long time. Where they essentially get to control the nature of seeds. Okay? This is a lot of stuff that folks are not even dealing with right now. I wrote this about 5 years ago. And it's been pictured, and I want to just draw a quick piece. Now, we're talking about 2015. In 2006, it was already reported that 60 to 70% of the food were already GMO inside of your supermarket. Okay? So that was already set. So the number is definitely up even more so now. Okay? Right. So when they started this, they were asking all the world, right? And so they did them. So watch these white supremacists. They work like liberals. They'll moonlight. You know what I'm saying? They'll moonlight, but really they're white supremacists. So but I want you to follow the facts, the information, people, and I want you to check it. So in my book, I cite every single thing on there that you would even see any of my mistakes on there by just citing, by the citations and the bibliographies in the back. Okay, so one of the things to be very clear on, they really attack India a lot. And this will get some people, talking about, conspiracy theories may be true or not. And I'm not, going to go into conspiracy theories because I want to check it. I want to do citations, bibliographies. Where can I get from a beginning into an end? And I can track and I can streamline the information so I can see where I'm wrong or where the information that is reported, is wrong. Right. So 250,000 people have committed suicide who are farmers in India. It sounds like a lot of people, right? Like, how's that possible within just, over 15 years? We're talking about India is the second most populated nation, right? You're talking about almost 1.5 billion people, right? They just right behind China. So India for very long, they couldn't get to China because, China has a different type of government. So the Western world couldn't get to, China because they on a Security Council. You know what I'm saying? China was on the Security Council. So we good. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody coming for us. We on the Security Council. You know what I mean? We're a permanent member. I'm sorry. We're a permanent member of the Security Council. You know, do folks know who the permanent members of the Security Council? I don't want to go, off track. So I'm going to let y'all find that out instead of giving y'all the answer. So now, so they came to India, right? And then it came with this solution, this fake solution. Oh, let me help y'all get food. India has been doing this shit for generations upon generations. You know what I mean? Vandana Shiva, you can go ahead and see her work. She's a doctor, a scientist in India who does the activist work, there within the food system. It's a global educator. All right. So when they go to India, and the idea is this, and I'm gonna tell you real quick, and I'm gonna go on to the next piece. The idea is I'm going to change your living situation by giving you a more modern and way to actually deal with the system to make money. So, and the Indian farming. So this is what happens, right? So folks who are west. So folks who are on in the Western world can go ahead and go to India and say, listen, we're gonna give you machinery, we're gonna give you this, that. So just like they were doing with the music industry and hip hop, that's a loan. You got a loan, fam. What you gotta put up? You just gotta put up your land. You know what I'm saying? So they had the Indians put up their land, right? So this is happening, this is happening in India. We're talking about we're not talking about, you know what I mean, a whole generation ago. We just talking about 15 years ago. So they said they're gonna give you all these resources, and so that's what you do, and then they're gonna give GMO. But see, Monsanto done came in there, right? And so Monsanto there's just one. There's also the DuPont, and they done teamed up. So now they're the largest that make the GMOs. And so in my book, I have the top 10, GMO brands. These are biotech firms. So anyway, they do the splicing and putting it together and so on and so forth, and passing it and within the food system, right? So they go and they create this relationship with the farmers, and the farmers look at it like, well, okay, I don't know if I want to do that because I've been doing this way and I've been fine, no problem. What happens is the neo-colonialists in India end up pushing them to go ahead and do it, right? They put a law in there. And so because there's no such thing as a universal law, only in spiritual sense, there's not a universal law that everybody actually, participates in, where I can easily, get you in. Like that's not, so essentially the US and its envoy has to go around everywhere. And so they went to India and they talked to them. We got passed this law that, anyone who has these particular seeds, that they respect that, trademark seeds. So they had to create a law. So there's a law that was created, trademark seeds, and it's called something different, in every single nation, and it's basically, seeds that are licensed. So that there will be no trademark infringement. So when they're going around, they're making sure there's no trademark infringement when they go around. So, but understand, so follow me, y'all. It might be a little tough. So they have the GMO. So once they have they create that, that particular system on that end, but then they also talk to the farmer on that particular end. As soon as the farmer defaults, they steal the land that they done had for 10 generations upon generations. And there's nothing they can do because their own government had supported that. The United Nations FAO, or Food Agricultural Organization, FAO, that's a supranational. So these supranationals essentially they're able to go through multinational, nations. They go to multinational. So they operate in all these different facets around the world, right? And and you have to go to the UN because everybody respects that. Okay, the UN essentially be a central place, right, for governance. But it's not really governance. It's really there to just support, white supremacy in Western world, or the Western world, which is white supremacist because it can't be good for the Indians. It can't be good for anyone. Okay, it's not a good system. So thousands upon thousands, 250,000 Indians had their land taken away. It's been a big issue. You really ain't hear about it, right? So when we talk about veganism in such a way where we discount that and don't bring that up or misunderstand that kind of connection, we're already at fault. You understand? We're already at fault. So it took me a while to kind of get there. Um, excuse me for that, and excuse me for the stuttering. But I had to think whether I wanted to go in and totally explain that position. But the last thing I want to actually discuss, I don't want to throw too much at you. Just the things that I had planned on. The two bonuses. The last bonus is we're talking about community equity. So community equity is the balancing ratio of putting resources into neighborhoods versus that which you usurp. All right. So I had to think about that for a while before putting that out. And I'm gonna tell you why I came. We've been talking about it for so long. Like, what does Michael Jordan do? Where's Oprah? Where Jay-Z or Beyonce, or we'll bring up celebrities and so on and so forth all the time, right? And that's because we're really talking about the community equity. Like, are you putting more in your community than you're taking out? I know I am. I know I have been, right? Um, and so, like, what does that even look like? What does that even look like? So when Michael Jordan say right now, a billionaire, Oprah, a billionaire, we'll say Jay-Z, a billionaire. Understand now, follow me for a while because we've been saluting the shit out of them and Beyonce's and all such and such when they give like a million or millions, back in there. They got millions from you, family. You are literally the oasis. You are the resource place that we get anything. That I get built up and create missions based on you, right? When we go out and create businesses, where do we start? We start immediately here within our community, right? And so we get these, even in terms of ideas, even in terms of intellectual, ideas. The mama that helps us in building when we're 12 to understand and watch how we're crossing the street, the way the elders look at after us, and in such a way, the babies who see us struggling with bags support us. We are pushing carts. When I used to push a stroller for my daughters, especially for my first child, a lot of sisters would come in and be like, "Do you need help?" And the brothers would support, and this kind of building, this development, and this is the kind of interaction that we need in our community that we often do not call and put any importance to it. We don't call it beautiful. We don't say that this is what we need to be doing, so on and so on. So we get this. This creates our mindset, totally, for Jay-Z to even do something wild. Like, for instance, like, we won't be able to even tie our shoelaces, without someone else. But it's in our community, we stay be talking about we done did some shit by ourselves because we discount the community over and over and over and over again. So when we say that the folks, and then so that's how we support some of these folks who happen to have money. And you say, well, okay, well that's a huge form of support. But then they also built themselves and they did this and so on and so forth. No, we paid for those. We paid for these micro. Why would they? Oh, you can't really tell. Yeah. Hey, okay, all right, we back on. Hey, Booby, how you doing? All right. My daughter's on. Hey, so listen. So I want to go and definitely clarify that point. Went out on that last point about Michael Jordan. So when Michael Jordan, right? When Michael Jordan makes billions of dollars, makes millions of dollars, right? And becomes a billionaire, he's a billionaire, right? We we don't even understand that we actually bought those sneakers. We don't even understand that we created this culture to follow this man's Jordans, and that this is he's going to be making money in perpetuity for a very long time. Same thing with artists, so on and so forth. All these black entertainers, right? So they get money from us. If he get $1 billion and he gives back 100 million after shitting on us for so many years, he got to fix his ratio of community equity. You understand? He has to fix his community equity is not even the same balance. There are folks in our community who've been putting more work in the community and making sure that they support on a regular basis. They happen to be a lot of our elders, some of them folks that we related to, our friends, our neighbors, the folks who are in the community sustaining, the folks who don't get paid for this, who haven't developed a plan, in capitalism to make money, off of supporting people. You're like, where's the money in supporting people? It's like if folks don't already have a particular gimmick to do anything, we almost like, man, what they talking about? Forget that, man. They ain't got no money. They ain't talking about nothing. But there ain't no fucking birthdays for them that we hold up and revere like we do it for Martin Luther King Jr. or for Malcolm X. We don't bang hard, for them like we talking about Sada Shakur, because we like, hell yeah, y'all better, hands off, Asada. We understand this when it comes down to it, when we get pumped up, but y'all got to stop waiting to get pumped up to get the right, to come to the right situation, the right conclusion, on this. If you don't want to talk about right, I'm going to sum up now. If you don't want to talk about protests, rebellion, uprising, that's cool, but don't be talking about the rioting. Don't be bringing that up. You know what I'm saying? Because the folks over there, they in Greece, man, they firebombing the U.S. embassy for some reason. We ain't even telling them to do that. But clearly they done got a lot of research and they done summed it up for themselves. They're like, okay, based on the analysis, the information years back, whoa, that's a lot of years. Whoa, the issues. Wow, so many people murdered. Yeah, we bomb them. You know what I'm saying? Like, we ain't tell them. Like, folks are not telling. It's not been that concerted of organized worldwide just yet. It's moving off of the information, the knowledge we already have. And there's a way that we can support that work. And the first thing we need to do, community, is recognize that we need to understand what white supremacy, actually is and how it operates. It doesn't say that you can't have white friends. It says that you need to challenge your white friends to do that work, right? So you're already challenging white folks to do that work. So I've heard some folks that were like, why are you doing the 7 points of allyship? You know what I'm saying? What you trying to pretend you ain't working with white folks at all already right now? I'm just making sure that we actually have, like some fucking structure. You know what I mean? Like we got terms and conditions. Like we set up with some principle. Like we got a principle relationship that when white folks contact me, man, they don't contact me in the same way that they contact. Let's be very clear about that, and that they should not contact me in the same way that they contact you. You understand that I do not ask for raises. I do not ask for promotions. You know what I'm saying? I ain't even asking folks more than once for no goddamn grants. We be what I'm saying, putting out grants, but when they see that the politics is upmost top of the list, and that making white folks comfortable is towards the bottom, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna be second guessing, like, I don't know if we messing with them, which means that they ain't vegan and they ain't really trying to support no justice aims. Fuck reform. We ain't about reform, but they ain't even trying to reform. But last point I want to make is there's white folks that's gonna do what the fuck you saying. You know what I'm saying? You gotta, challenge them to do what the fuck you saying. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you looking and trying to make, otherwise, if you believe that they ain't shit, then we got a whole nother issue, going on. And so that's why we're doing this education, that you understand, and that there's other organizations that you can build with and connect with, and we should be organizing amongst ourselves on a regular basis. But we should leave, in terms of organizing folks in the allyship that we're doing, leave that shit to motherfuckers who know how to do that shit. Don't even worry about that shit being done. The politic is this. Some of y'all, you know what I'm saying, are thinking that the politic is, oh, no, we shouldn't be talking and telling white folks, you know what I'm saying, no, you don't do that. You don't do that, family. I don't want folks just doing shit for me. You know what I'm saying? Like they know what I need. And we a little conflicted on that. But the only politic is that you don't have to. That was the politic is that black folks do not have to, educate white folks. That's the politic. You misunderstanding the politic that we should not do that. That is not the politic. If you ain't been practicing this for, 20 years or so on and so forth, family, I got to talk. The people who are to wrangle me in need to be the people who've been doing this for 20 some years. You understand? Like, not that folks can't get checked, but how the fuck is somebody doing the work gonna get checked by every single goddamn person that's out there that comes up and has a mouth? We can't do that. So the idea is that we do not have to check white folks. Why? Because we exhausted. We got to get them to check it. But who's going to organize them to go ahead and check it? Let it be the folks that we know doing the work. Let it be the folks with the proper analysis. Let it be the folks who have time to fuck. If you got time to drag on black Twitter, family. If you got time to be on a video and you sharing it, I got time to fucking bring white folks to the table and challenge them to do what the fuck they supposed to be doing in the bank, in the courts, and the whole state structure. But at the very same time, we're gonna get self-determination by any means necessary. So understand we're working on all sides of the aim. And if you listen and learn anything from Malcolm X before, Malcolm X was talking to white folks all the fucking time. And white folks are coming to him and saying, hey, we're gonna hear you. What is the issue over here? And so they don't do that too much now. Now they get these Negroes to come on and shit, right? Now they get the pundits and y'all be like, hell yeah, such and such. They ain't trying to change no fucking system, because if you change the system, them status quo dudes, man, listen, they ain't gonna be rocking with that. I don't want to hear no pundits. They don't need to be contacting me to be talking this, because I'm not gonna speak in the same way. NBC done contact me time before. As soon as they interviewed me and got that, you know what I mean, and they wanted to frame it in a certain way. They wanted me to sign off on it, and I was like, yeah, I'm just going, you know what I mean? I don't think I'm gonna be, rocking with that, So be very clear that we just gotta be fucking careful. You know what I'm saying? And we can and definitely do check on point 7, for the white folks who are listening about that in terms of media. All right. But with that being said, I'm gonna go, family. Thank you very much for everybody who's been in, who's commented, who's listened, and next two hosts, I'm gonna be gone. Sisters are hijacking. They hijacking. the hosting. So I'm gonna be out. All the Black VegFest family gonna come through, and we're gonna be talking about you know uh, Puerto Ricans and Dominicans. Are they black? Or do they recognize their blackness? What is their culture? And everything that we know and do not know, especially what we do not know. And so these sisters are going to come on and explain this to us. And we have Jillian and Stephanie who will be coming on representing Black VegFest